Is the Samsung Arvi or Angela? Is the person on the Samsung SM, is that Arvi or Angela?
Hi, can you hear me? This is me, Rosalie.
Oh, it is you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So we may get started and change the order of the agenda because we're supposed to have Move LA present on the rail yards issue, but they haven't joined yet. Also, unless Angela comes, we will not have a quorum, so we won't be voting, but we can try to take care of necessary business. I don't know if she'll be coming later, but Jenny Nixon had to work tonight, and Janisha and Rebecca are out of town. So we'll just wait a few more minutes, and if Move LA doesn't show up, then we'll go ahead and have the further discussion on the Rexford Industrial first. Okay, Angela Springs should be logging on. Okay, I still don't see Angela, but Move LA is gonna make their presentation. So I'll call the meeting to order at 6:41. At this point, we'll do a roll call, although I know we don't have a 5-member quorum. Rosalie Preston, present. Craig Kusunoki,
Present.
RV Powell,
Present.
Louetta Watson.
Here.
Okay, so we'll ask if there's any general public comment on any items that are not on the agenda today. If any of the stakeholders, I see a few or a couple stakeholders, if there was some issue, raise your hand, otherwise. Vaughn? Okay. Okay, I see Move LA has joined. So they're going to have a short presentation for item number 4.
Yes, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, sorry about being late. I had a little bit of a connection challenge. I'm actually in Long Beach today. Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Lippman. I am the executive director of Move LA. We are a nonprofit advocacy organization that covers all of LA County. I also happen to be a former president of Palms Neighborhood Council, and the former president of Bonk, although the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, although I am no longer and have not been on the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners for almost 2 years at this point. So very, very aware of neighborhood council meetings and the rules and regulations around it. And so thank you so much for allowing me a little bit of time today. What I'm here today representing Move LA and other organizations, Coalition for Clean Air, Earth Justice, East Yards, and many other organizations, asking for your support for a rule to reduce emissions from rail yards. It's called an indirect source review rule, and it's about communities like yours that are near rail yards and railroads that are unduly burdened by pollution, by noise, and other injustices caused by the railroads and by goods movement. And we know the impact that goods movement has, right? We see higher rates of asthma, heart disease, COPD, and cancer because of nitrous oxides and diesel, which lowers life expectancy. And we know that our region, the South Coast, is in violation of federal clean air laws, which means that, if we do not improve our air standards, we actually face sanctions from the federal government, and that could be devastating as well. And we know that 40% of the nation's imports and exports come through the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and that has a burden on your community in particular. And we recognize that by passing this indirect source review rule for freight rail yards, we're going to ensure that the South Coast Basin gets to actually reducing this pollution in and around, and particularly around communities that are near rail yards and along rail corridors. And we also believe that, that our local government, our air district, actually has the authority to do it based on several laws and based on experience in the past. The biggest thing too is, we're going to reduce health burdens, right? We know, I have 3 kids. I know how expensive healthcare is. My wife has gone through cancer twice, and it's incredibly expensive. And so if we can reduce that cost to individuals, to our community, that's also going to have a huge impact. And, you know, so what we're asking you today is to consider the resolution, the draft resolution, amend it, you know, update it, but ideally, you know, we're reaching out specifically because we're not seeing the leadership that we need from Council District 15. And I know that you are in Council District 15, and we're really hoping by having, you know, and I believe we've now passed one in, let me just check on this. I know we did one in Central San Pedro Neighborhood Council, and last week in Wilmington Neighborhood Council, the resolution as well. So you'll be joining 2 other neighborhood councils in the Harbor Gateway area in support of this. And so, yeah, that's what we're asking for. And I welcome any questions. I know that you may lose quorum soon, so I'm happy to to move it to questions.
Okay, Lou Watson has her hand raised.
Eli, would you explain the indirect source rule for us, please?
Yeah, so essentially this is a rule that will go to the air quality management district, which has a 15-member board on August 2nd. And essentially the rule as written would require the rail yards, and there's about, I believe, on the about 22 to 25 in the air district region, which covers Orange County, LA, Riverside, San Bernardino. It would require that they have a very specific investment plan for reducing the emissions at the rail yard. So specifically, it would be, how do they transition the switcher locomotives? How do they transition the locomotives that are transferring cargo through the Alameda corridor to the intermodal port, from the port to these rail yards? How do they transition them to near zero and then zero emission vehicle, you know, locomotives? And it sets out a very clear, like, you know, you have to be a certain level by this date, and therefore to have this number of locomotives of this level, right, of cleanliness by a certain, and it requires, you know, it lays out and makes a requirement that is enforceable by the air district. And so really, you know, if this passes, and that's what we're trying to get to 8 votes on the air district board on August 2nd, you know, it will really be about implementation and ensuring that that it gets implemented. And that honestly is going to be a harder part of the work, because I mean, I'm sure you're pretty much aware that, you know, UP and BNSF, the 2 major rail companies, are huge monopolies. They're not very responsive to community needs. They're not very responsive to, as I heard, you know, from speaking with your chair earlier, trash and other you know, challenges that spill out into your neighborhood and impact your neighborhood. They're not very responsive. And so that's why we pushed for something that is enforceable by law for them to clean up their pollution, the pollution that they're creating. And so, you know, we see this as kind of the only way to get them to make the investments that they need to make to, you know, improve air quality.
So Eli, I was on a meeting with, I think it was presented by the Sierra Club's Clean Transportation for All about a week ago. And
Yes.
so the meeting is, we can attend virtually on the morning of Friday, August 2nd. But if our neighborhood passes the resolution, and if our committee recommends that our board pass it, is it too late? You know, because we won't meet, the board won't meet until August 13th.
It will be too late to communicate that to the air district, unless they, and this is possible, that they don't have the votes to move it forward on August 2nd. And so I wouldn't say it's too late. But I would encourage you to move forward on it because, part of this is we're really trying to get leadership from the mayor and from the council member for District 15, who have not really shown leadership on putting pressure on the ports and on the goods movement system, including the rail yards, to clean up their act. And so part of this, I think, is asking you to send a letter to the South Coast Air District in support of the rule. And I think even still, if you do pass it after August 2nd, you can still submit it and it can be part of the official public record. But it's also communicating this to the Harbor Commission, to the mayor, and to Council District 15 that your community has concerns, your community has considered this, and your community wants to see the rail yards, the ports, and that's the other thing that we're hoping to. We don't want to. This is not the first time that we want to come to your neighborhood council. We actually want to come back because the air district's also considering one of these rules, and that's why this is part of sort of a longer effort. But they're considering a rule for the port as well that will require specific investments at the port through a rule in the future. And so I'd actually, even if we can do this, we'd love to come back and also talk about a similar effort with the ports.
Okay, thank you. Vanessa, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. I wasn't previously a member of the board when I guess the previous rule was passed. I was wondering how is this rule that's being proposed different from the one that was previously passed?
Yeah,
So this would be the first time.
right.
This will be the first time that the railroads are required. We have in the past, there is a rule on warehouses to clean up their emissions. But this will be the first one for the railroads. And then right now that we're also looking at one for the port as well. So that would be a future one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Eli? Otherwise, if there's a motion that we support the resolution as a recommendation to our board, we could move forward. Lou Watson,
I move that our committee recommend to the board to support the resolution to support Eli. I don't know, what is the wording that you want the motion? How do you want the motion to read, Eli?
it's on the agenda, the indirect source rule. Adoption of the indirect source rule 2306 and 316.2 for freight rail yards. Does that cover it?
I move that we support
Yep.
the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, will one of the committees, is that Arby's seconding? Harvey, were you making a?
Yes, I was
Second.
seconding. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I just had to get back on.
Okay, so we will take a vote. Rosalie Preston, yes. Craig Kusunoki,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes.
Angela Springs,
Yes.
Louetta Watson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Great,
So-
thank you so much. Let's be in touch. I'm happy to come to the full board and then we can kind of talk about next steps. But I think ideally the next step is this your position gets communicated to, the mayor and the council district 15.
Okay. Thank you. So let's just quickly go back to
Yeah, thank you. You guys have. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for your service, all. You guys are doing amazing stuff for your.
Okay, thank you. So since Angela joined us and we have a quorum, let's just go back to the minutes from the June 27th meeting, item number 3. Was there a motion to approve or any corrections? Waiting for a motion on the June 27th Planning and Land Use Committee minutes.
I motion that we accept the minutes on the June 26th committee notes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. So roll call on approval of the June 27th committee minutes. Rosalie Preston, yes. Craig Kusanokii,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes,
Angela Springs,
Yes.
Louetta Watson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passed. And now we will move on to item number 5, the revised comment letter, which I will share the latest draft. Can everyone see the letter?
Yes.
Okay.
yep, officer.
Yeah, now I'm having trouble scrolling. Okay, so from the last version, I decided to change it around, and the focus is on the portion that's in the county of Los Angeles. So it's now addressed to the LA County Planner, Elsa Rodriguez. But we do still acknowledge that Rexford Industrial has reached out and attended a number of meetings, including tonight. And then we refer to the space on Figueroa Street, which will be it is currently the office space of that building. And it will continue to be the office space, and Rexford is upgrading the exterior and doing a lot of landscaping, including now, they had originally proposed planting, there are no trees currently, but they had proposed planting 4 new trees, but now they will be able to plant 6 new trees with additional landscaping. And later I can share from their PowerPoint what that would look like. So then moving into the portion has the address on West Rosecrans, which is in the unincorporated LA County area and within the Rancho Dominguez Victoria Standards District of the unincorporated Los Angeles County area, just to the east of the Los Angeles city boundary line. We wish to express the following concerns on behalf of our stakeholders who live to the west of the project across Figueroa Street and within 500 feet of the future warehouse space with 31 truck docks. So our major concerns are for that portion of the project with the potential noise impacts and potential air pollution impacts. So item number 1 relates to potential noise impacts for residential uses, particularly at night, from loading, unloading related to activities on the property. The proposed project's loading docks will be approximately 400 feet from homes at Figueroa Street and 146th Street and less than 500 feet from homes on Denver at 144th Street. While a traffic study was conducted by Overland Traffic Consultants, no professional sound study was undertaken. So the 3 points related to noise impact, and originally I wrote it with that you see in the red. Lou Watson wonders if that language is the best for to express what our intentions are. I just want to point out that the project in the LA County area, which is located on land that is zoned industrial, but because it's within 500 feet of residential uses, which are on our side in the city of LA, therefore the project comes under the LA County's green zones, which they adopted a couple years ago. So the green zones language prohibits any activity on the site after 6 p.m. except for loading and unloading of trucks directly into the enclosed warehouse. So we can go over that in a minute. So we're just saying that the sound generated from the site after 6 p.m. shall not exceed 45 decibels. And that's the standard that should be maintained. It's listed in the county ordinance, noise ordinance for residential use areas. Should not have a decibel above 45. If it was totally industrial and it didn't have an impact on the residential nearby, I think it could be up to 75 decibels. The loading docks must contain foam gasket seals and enhanced bumpers and or other measures to reduce the dock mating noise, and also a fully covered roof area enclosed by roll-up doors for the loading docks. And then the other suggestion is the use of white noise or multi-frequency quiet alarms on all trucks and equipment moving outdoors after 6 p.m. so that the backup beepers traditionally used to indicate backing up operations not create a noise pollution impact for the nearby residents, and this should be required via the leasing agreement. Now, theoretically, the language in the first bullet point, which is part of the green zones ordinance, would already eliminate any kind of movement with beepers, but we're just kind of reiterating that requirement. Then number 2 relates to the air pollution impacts. Although the project reduces the size of the previous buildings on site and previous potential number of daily truck trips, there will still remain an air pollution impact to residential uses, in other words, homes on the south side of Rosecrans Avenue between the 110 Harbor Freeway and Figueroa Street from the 96 daily vehicle, which means both truck and car, trips going to the warehouse and exiting from the warehouse to enter the 110 Harbor Freeway. So those points, the lease agreement with future tenants should include a requirement that zero emission heavy duty trucks are required to travel to and from the project site by a specific date, such as 2035. And we know that, you know, the ports and the state of California are working on similar language. Another point, any heavy-duty truck idling or queuing off-site should be prohibited, and that prohibition included in leasing agreements, which Rexford has already said that the way they're designing the project, that all of the trucks coming in should be able to fit inside the new yard, which is going to be a lot bigger than what was previously there, because they tore down the 3 warehouses on Rosecrans Avenue. And then the last point, there should be no heavy-duty truck access from the Figueroa Street side of the project, and this should be clearly posted. Only access from the driveway at 400-422 West Figueroa Street for heavy-duty trucks shall be permitted. And then a last point is the number 3, potential traffic impacts of trucks leaving the warehouse and turning west over the eastbound lanes of Rosecrans Boulevard, even with the existing 2-way left turn lane on Rosecrans Avenue. You know, we know that Rexford believes that that because the traffic on Rosecrans is not that heavy, and because a truck can pull out of the warehouse on Rosecrans and go into an intermediate lane, that there shouldn't be any backup, but we just want to express our concern over the potential. And then our last concern, which is really for the future workers in the warehouse, is the lack of air conditioning. Representatives for Rexford Industrial indicated during their presentation that air conditioning was not needed as the site is located in the coastal zone and would not see the high temperatures that would be common for warehouses located in the Inland Empire, for example. And that ceiling fans would be adequate for overly hot days. There will also be 60 vented skylights, which when open will produce additional airflow. However, with the impact of global warming, our neighborhood is seeing many more high 90s and 100-degree temperatures. Ceiling fans alone are unlikely to be able to cool the interior of the warehouse to below 87 degrees per the recently adopted Cal OSHA standards for indoor air temperatures. It would seem prudent to plan for the future by installing a heat pump heating/cooling system with solar panels so that the building is ready to provide proper cooling for days of higher temperatures in the future. We would also like to point out that there needs to be a more formal means this should be another paragraph. Because we are addressing it to the county planning and land use. And this, I mean, this is an issue not just for this project, but for the whole section of Figueroa, south of well, really south of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks, just south of 149th Street, all the way down to the 91 freeway. Well, part of that is Carson, but we do share a border with the county of LA, and there's been issues with some other projects that they've built and some of their other warehouses where we seem to not have any ability to have input. So we're saying we would also like that there needs to be a more formal means of communication and coordination between the Los Angeles County Department of Regional Planning and the City of Los Angeles for areas where the two jurisdictions share boundaries, particularly where development in the County of Los Angeles impacts residents on the west side of Figueroa Street. For example, we would have liked to receive notification of this project last year when the application was first filed. And going forward, we would like to see the County of Los Angeles add to the Green Zones Ordinance a requirement that buffer zones between manufacturing/industrial uses and residential uses be extended from the current 100 feet to 1,000 feet. Additionally, one of our goals is to see higher quality usages for the industrial facilities that line our Figueroa corridor, as opposed to warehousing that involves large truck traffic and is considered a heavy industrial use. Per the Cal EnviroScreen 4.0, all of the Harbor Gateway North areas along Figueroa Street up to 120th Street and the Harbor Gateway Community Plan area meet the criteria of being disadvantaged communities. With that in mind, the Harbor Gateway Community Plan update recommends encouraging green, sustainable industries that bolster the economic base and provide high skill and high wage job opportunities for local residents. The updated community plan also calls for the transition of industrial land uses from heavier industrial uses to lighter industrial uses in close proximity to residential neighborhoods to minimize the negative environmental and visual impacts to the community. And we would send it to our council member McCosker, Pamela Thornton, the planning director, Nicholas Chavez, the field deputy for Council District 15, Jocelyn Dominguez, the representative for Mayor Karen Bass in our area, Josh Gertler representing Rexford Industrial, and the California Attorney General, the Environmental Issues Section, because they have issued guidelines on warehouses. So any further comments? I don't know if Lou has some clarifications.
Yes, I do. Okay, I don't know if this is gonna take a vote by the members of the PLU committee, because I have a couple of requests. But first, I would like to ask Rexford, what are the species? I congratulate you for upping the total number of trees from 4 to 6. That was very important to me, and I thank you for listening to us and our concerns about the number of trees that you originally were going to plant at the location.
Now, clarify, that's on the Figueroa side. There's going to be 15 trees on the Rosecrans side.
I am not speaking to that issue, Rosalie.
I just wanted to clarify for the other committee members.
Thank you, Rosalie. Rexford, I would like to thank you for adding 2 more trees to the number 4 that you were originally going to plant. I think that that means that you listened to us and our concerns, that 4 was not adequate. And I would like to thank you. I have a couple of questions. I have a question for Rexford. What are the species of those 6 trees?
Maybe I'm pulling up the plans right now and I will tell you in a second here. Apologize for not being prepared for that. Let's see, planting plan. LP2. Looks like we're using Tuskegee crepe myrtles.
Is that species appropriate for the purposes intended at this location?
Yeah, we believe so because we're planting them far enough away from the sidewalk and the grass area out there that they won't have any root damage. They're fast growing, and I think the crepe myrtle is an evergreen, so it doesn't have a season where there's no leaves on it. So it keeps its beauty year round.
Are you going to look into that to find out if indeed that species is appropriate for that area?
I will find out. It's also part of our plan check process. So the 3 things that we look for when we pick plants are appropriateness, like you've requested, low water, because that's the new California Green Code. We have to make sure these trees don't take up too much water, and they create a long-lasting look. But I will look into that, and I could send Rosalie a email on the appropriateness of these trees in the area.
I appreciate that. Okay, and I would like to ask my fellow Blue Committee members if it's necessary for me to ask you to make a motion and ask you to vote on it as to whether or not you support me in this. I would like to have the county ordinance sections that are cited included in our letter so that they know that we know what we're talking about.
Or the noise, you mean?
I'm specifically asking for the, yes, and I know you keep mentioning the green zone. However, the ordinance was just updated on July 1st. So things have changed a little bit. And I would like for everyone to know that we are aware of that. And I would like the specific sections in parentheses after that, the noise.
After the 45 dBA, we'll put in the citation.
Yes, I thank you for that. The other thing I want to ask the Blue members is that I have repeatedly asked that copies of our letter not only go to specifically, I would like for Cal OSHA to get a copy of this letter because of that air conditioning issues that's been kind of sloughed off with the whatever the language is. But I would like for Cal OSHA to know that we are aware, that we are concerned about that. So I would like for them to get a copy of that, of our letter. Cal OSHA and okay, I'll just say Cal OSHA. Do I need
Okay, okay, we can add that in. We'll add in Cal OSHA as a CC.
Thank you.
And then just going back to that section right at the beginning, the first bullet point under potential noise impacts, I think that rather than deleting that language, that it should be kept in.
Rosalie, would you scroll it back and let us look at it? Because I think I disagree with you. Or scroll it up wherever the location is.
Okay, so I think it's stronger because the green zones language allows loading and unloading of trucks directly into the enclosed warehouse after 6 p.m. And we're just repeating that and stressing that sound generated from the site after 6 p.m. shall not exceed 45 decibels. And then the citation from the noise ordinance.
Well, please delete the last portion of that red sentence. After 6 p.m., just a period, and delete the rest of that. Delete with no other use of property after that hour. It's redundant. And include the county ordinance section.
Right, so, but I'm gonna repeat, I'm gonna keep in the not delete the only loading and loading. Only loading and unloading of trucks directly into the enclosed warehouse should occur after 6 p.m. Sound generated from the site after 6 p.m. shall not exceed 45 decibels, and then the citation from LA County noise ordinance.
Do you have the section number? Because I can send it to you again.
No, I have it, I have it.
Thank you.
Okay, so any other comments, questions on this? Okay, otherwise, is there a motion to recommend this latest draft letter to our full board?
Excuse me, Mobley, one other thing. Before you write up the letter and send it to, have it prepared for the board, please find out from Rexford what is the species of tree, so that you can include some language that says something about appropriate species, or species that are approved by the county. Or some language, not just, so it's just not any old tree, because it's.
Well, the ones on the front on Figueroa are in the city of LA.
I'm not talking about those, I'm talking about the 6 trees. Those are the ones that I am very concerned about.
Okay, those are in the city of LA. The 15 on Rosecrans are in the county.
The 6 new trees, would you include whatever the species is that he gives you, so that it is in our letter? So that we know that it is a species appropriate?
Okay, all right. We'll get that included before
So
early August.
just so you know, it's on the plan set that we sent to you, so it's in those plans.
Yes.
Those plans are, have been reviewed 3 times by the county, actually, and the city, by the city of Los Angeles already. And, and we have a licensed landscape architect who is also an arborist who selected these trees. So we feel pretty confident in our choice. This is not a random choice. It's a licensed arborist, licensed landscape architect, and it's been through 3 rounds of plan check with the city of Los Angeles.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so with those additions to the draft, is there a motion to recommend this draft letter to the full board on Rexford Industrial?
Recommend that we, excuse me, draft a letter as corrected and adding what Lou was, mentioning about in the letter.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, roll call vote. Rosalie Preston, yes. Craig Kusanokii,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes.
Angela Springs, I see Angela's still here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Louetta Watson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Rexford Industrial, for attending again and clarifying. So we will move on to item number 6.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalie.
So just to let everyone know that we're working with Council District 15 to set up a meeting, and Rosecrans Recreation Center has said that later in August, their gym will be free in the evenings. So we're trying to set a date to have a community meeting on the renewal of the Cal Recycle permit for California Waste Services, which is a construction waste recycling center, which has caused a lot of impact to the nearby residents, especially on 149th Street, from dust and also noise pollution. And we hope that we can have South Coast Air Quality Management District present, because they have certain guidelines regarding such facilities. Also, the lead environmental agency for the city of LA, which is a small unit under the Department of Building and Safety. And I've been calling Cal Recycle itself the state oversight agency, but they're not responding. In any case, we would have representatives from our council district there so that the community could review the issues, and we could draft a comment letter recommending some new measures that could be taken to make the operation safer for our residents, including having every activity of the recycling, in an enclosed space with proper ventilation for the workers. And then item number 7. So there was going to be a challenge to the state law that was passed about phasing out oil and gas drilling near residential uses, but the petroleum industry decided not to put that on the November ballot. So it would seem that it is in effect, but we're wondering how to get enforcement. We do have the one active well on 126th Street operating, and they seem to be operating without a permit. And also the city of LA, I think it's been 2 years ago that they passed the ordinance outlining all new drilling within the city of LA, period, and also to phase out existing wells. Well, since that well isn't even permitted, it would seem like they shouldn't be in operation, but we still cannot manage to identify the enforcement agency that would take care of that. So we're working on that. And the reports on other planning and land use issues. It looks like the Weingart Willows, the supportive housing, is it called Inside Safe? I believe it is. At 14032 South Vermont Avenue, looks like it's on target to complete the remodeling by the end of July. It looks like all the new windows have been installed. And again, they said they would be inviting us to the grand opening ceremony, which will take place probably in September. The Arco gas station should be opening the end of this month or early August after finally receiving all of their permits. The city of Los Angeles, our neighborhood council took up this issue of tiny homes at 116th Place at Stanford a year ago or so. Well, more than that, because it was when Councilmember Buscaino was still our council member. So when Member McCosker came into office, it was put on hold. But apparently the city's Department of Public Works has reviewed it, and there's pressure to create a tiny home village, although now our field deputy Nicholas Chavez said that instead of 40 tiny homes, which are kind of like the size of like a little garden shed that only 1 or 2 people could fit in, instead they would be prefab homes, kind of like a trailer. And I think we figured there might be about 20 of them or so placed on that same park and ride lot closer to Stanford, because they would be aimed at housing families, homeless families, on a temporary basis. And I think Nicholas said there would be for about 100 people. So that was mentioned at one of the 116th Place Block Club meetings, and people in that neighborhood who were opposed to having the tiny homes at that location, because it's right near a residential area and also the 116th Street School, they're not happy with the newer proposal. But the council office is working with Public Works to set up a community meeting on the issue at the 116th Street School, possibly later in August. And then other planning and land use issues, the city building and safety department. I don't know if everyone saw the email, but they have opened a plan check office in the city building on Vermont and 85th, is it? The Mark Ridley Thomas city building, so that people in South LA don't have to go all the way down to San Pedro or to downtown LA. So it creates another counter. And I did attend the July 13th Neighborhood Council Plan Check meeting. Again, there was discussion of the new landscaping design ordinance, how to search for ED1 projects on the Department of City Planning website. Those are the proposals for supportive or affordable housing that under Mayor Bass's Executive Directive 1 would be speeded up and have fewer fewer reviews so that they would get built faster. We've actually seen those projects. We've received notice of them in different ways. And some has been on the biweekly what is it, early notification listing that the Department of City Planning sends to neighborhood council members every other week. Or sometimes every week, I think. And they do show up there, and they're always director reviewed, so there's not going to be a public hearing, but we have still invited the developers to come to our meetings, which they don't always do, but if they do, we try to take a position and also, influence some of their design and landscaping issues. And also, it was mentioned the historic photos of Los Angeles taken by air that are known as the Fairchild photos, and some of those are on display at the downtown City Hall. They're held by the University of California at Santa Barbara. And by going to their website, I believe I tried looking up some of those, and you can find them there. If you type in Fairchild photos, I think possibly some of them pop up. So it gives you kind of a historic view of what was on the land before the major development, especially the development of in Los Angeles in the 1940s. So did anyone have any other issues? Okay, so we'll have to tentatively, we'll say that we'll hold a Planning and Land Use Committee meeting on the 4th Thursday of August, but if we don't really have any projects to review, we might cancel it. Although we probably should try to write a letter again about those oversized duplexes and trying to get some interim controls, since our council member has introduced interim controls for some other issues. And possibly we should start updating our planning and land use goals, or kind of our vision statement, to incorporate some of the issues, especially the environmental justice issues, from our proposed updated Harbor Gateway Community Plan. So if there's nothing else, if no one else has anything, we'll go ahead and close out our meeting. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. And
Thank you very much.
ending the meeting at 7:40.